For those of y'all who are just joining tonight, we are having a conversation on the impact of social media. Hey, Reggie, you got to just hit the request to join live button and we'll bring you in. A heavily debated and talked about topic that I am excited to get into tonight. This topic idea was actually Chris's idea. Yes. Thank you for that. And I'm going to start off with asking you a question first as soon as we get Reggie in here. Reggie, hit the, there you go. Yes, my brother. Got you. Hold on. Hey, Reggie.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
All right. So, hey, everybody.
What's up, brother?
What's happening, bro? How you doing, dude?
All right. Salutes.
All right. So we have the gang all here.
Yeah.
All right. So, hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Again, if you are just joining tonight, we are going to be having a conversation on the impact of social media, which I titled The Social Media Effect. I'm going to introduce myself first before I pass the mic left, right, down, and diagonal. My name is Tisa. For those of y'all who don't know me, I am passionate about all things hope, love, healing, and growth. Super passionate about mental health in the Black and Brown community. I'm also a life coach, a mental health, and I'll say mindset and emotional intelligence life coach. Yes, the link in bio if y'all want to talk more. I'm going to pass the mic down to Chris to introduce himself.
What's up, good people? So I'm Chris Henson. I'm located out of the Boston, Massachusetts area, and I'm a community influencer. I work with youth and I work with men. I work with the brothers. Just as Tessa said, I'm a life coach as well. So I do work with the kids, and I also provide a safe haven for brothers, to just, vent, work on our mental health, physical health, all of that good stuff, just all around, man. So yeah, community influencer. I'm all things community, like whatever it takes to keep us elevated and growing and loving on each other. I'm all for it.
Amen. Reggie, you want to go?
Yeah. So my name's Reggie. I'm a therapist and a life coach. I work with everybody. As long as you're in Maryland, that's where I'm licensed life coach worldwide. I'm also building a program that involves adventure therapy. So instead of us just talking on a couch and everything like that, we're engaging in activities that, might be stressful, frustrating, aggravating. And I would help you navigate your emotions, your ego, and your pride through those situations as a clinician, as a life coach in the moment. So, you're not left at the mercy of remembering what we talked about. We're in the moment and we're doing that. So if you're interested, please contact me. Link is in the bio. Good to meet everybody.
Thank you. And my peeps, my partners in conversation, Sherry and Travis.
My name is Sherry. I'm a therapist, creator, poet, writer, mother, all things. I am not Superwoman. And we are also passionate about mental health, healing, the community, and facilitating conversations. You.
Hello, I'm Travis. As you can see, I ain't planning on the camera being this low. Y'all can see my hoochie daddy shorts.
I definitely see your knee. I definitely see your thigh.
So that's free for everybody. Link in bio for more.
I like that.
Oh man.
So for those of y'all who are joining us in the comment section, thank you for joining, and we love to interact and hear you guys' feedback and questions. So drop your questions or feedback in the comments and we'll definitely try to get to them as we're having this conversation. So this idea or the topic, I put a poll out a couple of weeks ago and asked you guys what you wanted to talk about. And Chris actually brought up the topic of social media influence. So Chris, I want to pass the question to you first of why was this topic important to you?
Wow. Well, it was important because I feel like social media is, if not one of the, greatest influencers out here. you know, good or bad, you know, just like life in general, you know, it's the good and it's the bad, you know, and if you take in too much of it, too much bad, it pretty much, it contaminates you in a bad way. And so, you know, just looking on, you know, IG or TikTok, Facebook, and of course it's the good out there, but you got no other choice but the, you know, you see the bad, you see the negative stuff, and it's like, yo, come on, man. Like, our community can be so much better, so much, we can thrive so much better, we can grow and do so much great things, but y'all out here wilding out. And so, you know, just as a black man seeing that, you know, just to be real with it, it breaks your heart, because I'm like, yo, we can utilize social media just like we're doing now. You guys, you know, you doing wherever you at, Maryland or whatever. I'm in Massachusetts. We connected to, you know, form a bond to put a dope, positive message out here. But we have a select few that want to use the social media for a bad influence, and it just continues on. It's a repeated cycle, and you know, yeah. So that's the reason why social media is so important, and that's why I wanted to talk about the topic, because I feel like the more positive messages we put out, we, you know, put a more, you know, we make people more alert and aware of the bad influence of it, you know, the better the community can be.
What do you personally use social media for?
Connecting, networking, business, catch a laugh here and there, trash talk about the Dallas Cowboys here and there. Pretty much that's it right there. And just stay up to date, you know, just stay up to date with the community, man. It's a good tool to, like I said, network, you know, and, you know, just to connect. And for the most part, that's what I use social media for. Just it's a building tool. Most definitely that. It's a building tool.
Can I ask what kind of things you say to get some laughs off? What kind of things do you find funny when you look at them on social media?
The things I laugh at, of course, you know, Dallas Cowboys memes, and just some just random crazy stuff like well, our community, you'll catch some stuff like, you know, black people do this, black people do that type of funny, you know, videos and stuff like that. That's what I check out. You know, I laugh at our culture. You know, we'll do something well, like, you know, black parents do this, and I'm like, yo, you know, growing up, mom and dad did do that to me, man. So, you know, just, you know, it connects up to me. So that's, for the most part, that's what I catch. That's what I laugh at. Just some random stuff, nothing crazy, nothing wilding out. Just something that could tickle my ear. Just like when my man was just talking about his hoochie daddy shorts for a season, like that was, you know, that was the thing. Like that was popping, that was blowing up, and you know, there's a lot of jokes with that going around. But that's how we just, you know, laughed at the beginning of this session. You know, laugh is good for the soul. So I take time out to, you know, find some kind of comedy, some kind of joke, some laughs or something like that. It keeps you balanced.
I like that word, balance. Reggie, what about you? What do you use social media for?
Connecting, same, you know, a lot of the same tools that the brother just said, networking, connecting, staying in touch with family members who are out of state or distance or away and things like that. But mainly now, advertising. Like I've definitely, you know, just kind of disconnected from the, you know, personal aspect of social media, and I'm really just kind of focusing onto the, you know, the professional. I do have my moments where, you know, I'm sending videos back and forth with family members, friends, and stuff like that, memes. But as far as what I'm posting and things like that, you know, it's from a professional aspect.
Okay. So would you say your social media page is a representation of like your beliefs, like in terms of because I'm assuming we say advertising, you're advertising your business, right? And your business is founded on like things you're passionate about, what you believe in. Would you say that your social media is mainly comprised of that?
Yes. I did forget that. Like sometimes I'll bust things on my story that, you know, I just think are cool. You know, things that you don't really see a lot, things I find meaning in, and you know, I'll just post it on a story as like a message in a bottle out to the people that, you know, care to check it out to see if they get the same meaning or a different meaning. You know, it's up to the viewer. But besides that, yeah, it's mostly professional.
Do you get people when you do that? Do you get people that engage in your? Do you get people that engage in your not in your comment section, that will reply back and like y'all will have a dialogue about something that you shared in your story?
Yeah, a lot of times it's the people who store like whose posts I'm sharing. They'll be like, thank you, thank you for this. But sometimes, it'll just be somebody with the clap hands emoji, say that again, or I was just talking about this, or I needed this, and I've never seen this before. So it's really brief. A lot of times I haven't really gotten into a deep esoteric conversation, but I get some feedback here and there.
Sherry and Travis, I'm going to ask you, Sherry, first, because you actually, Travis doesn't have a personal page. So I'm going to ask you, what do you use social media for?
Everything. I use it for everything, mostly business and marketing, but keeping in touch with family and friends. I use it for positivity. There's certain pages like yours, Tisa, that I go to feel better, to get other positive affirmations. I make sure I follow people that encourage and motivate me. So like I love personal training pages because they're going to do and go harder than I'm going to go, but it's going to keep me motivated. I look at other healers because they're going to motivate me when I'm down and low. So I definitely post a lot of professional, but I post personal because I'm trying to show like a realistic view of humanity, not just the good, but who I actually am. And then who I follow tends to be like based on, like you said, my values, my morals, my beliefs, like who's going to encourage me in different areas and based on different goals and interests that I have.
Yeah, I'm similar to that. Travis, I actually assume that you don't have a personal page, but you could be hiding somewhere in the realms of the cloud. Do you have a personal social media page?
Yeah, I'm alert for that. I'm a lurker big time.
Are you?
You don't have a personal page. Stop lying.
No.
No, technically it's a personal Facebook page, but that's only because we had a joint page and then we split off and he don't use it once we split off.
Yeah, no, I
don't
don't
maintain it.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, because you do have a social media page, Codependent Podcast. What do you use that page for, and do you lurk from that page?
Yeah, I do. I really just mostly use the internet for porn, if I'm being honest.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm huge. Yeah, I'm huge into that, and I feel like it actually can heal the black cult site. Now, let me.
I was about to let it go.
I was like, yo, where you going with this one, man?
No. I use TikTok a lot, honestly. All the time. Honestly, if I'm on my phone, it's either ESPN or TikTok these days. There's not much in between. And everything is on there, man. Everything. Recipes, how to fix stuff around your house. Tons of jokes, obviously. But the thing I like about it mostly is I'm kind of reclusive in my life by choice. So I think it's kind of easy for me to get disconnected to the zeitgeist. So I like to stay on TikTok because you get to see a great swath of the population. It's really a study on what's it called? Anthropology, for real. Like in the moment, you can see what kids in China are doing, what they're doing in favelas in Brazil, what white America thinks dancing looks like. You can get just so many different things, and especially with my teenagers, it's been a huge connection point for me to be on the apps that they're on, so we can share stuff that they like, so that I know what they're talking about just from a pop culture experience, and not just from my generation's pop culture, but from theirs. Like, what's the music, what's the jokes, what's the dances, how can I embarrass them in front of their friends, all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you think, since you brought TikTok up, this is one of my questions. Do you think, well, you kind of just said you definitely have a preference over a social platform. Do you think that any platform is worse than the other or better than the other?
What are the metrics?
In terms of, right, let's take YouTube. Let's take the main ones. Let's take YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter.
Yeah.
And your own definition of what you would say is negative about social media or positive about.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Twitter seems like the scariest one here recently. Just from a fake news standpoint, which could get scary, but I think it's going to get so ridiculous that it won't matter much soon. But it's got this immediacy effect of like news. The other one's like Instagram. It can be anytime. You can be looking at somebody's picture from 2 weeks ago or a week ago, still like it. A TikTok also. I see TikToks that are 3 months old all the time. But the immediacy aspect of Twitter, the whole point is that I'm saying it right now about this thing that's happening right now. So that one seems like maybe a little bit scary just from a societal standpoint. But as far as emotional damage or the way that it can suck you in or self-esteem type things, I think they're all kind of even. It's just to pick your poison, maybe.
Yeah. I have a thing about I don't know why, but this, I guess I've never been on Twitter. I've only seen like Twitter, other people post Twitter things on other social media platforms. I'm not on Twitter, but I guess I would liken Twitter to Facebook in that I have a disdain for Facebook. I only have a Facebook page because I have to be in certain groups for business, but I hate Facebook because to me, I picture Facebook as a whole bunch of people just getting on, just sharing too many personal thoughts and like whining and crying and saying stuff that they should not be saying, like oversharing of information. And it's not, and I don't even think to me, it's not like inspirational or positive. It's just a whole lot of people complaining. That's my own perception, but I hate.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't like Facebook either, but I think it's because, like, similar to what you said, Facebook is where that was our first page outside of like MySpace and all of Black Planet. Like, that's our first, like, of the current pages. So like all our family and friends are on Facebook. I like Instagram because for me, Instagram has more anonymity. I think that's where it can be toxic because like all our high school, both of our high school, like everyone we know from high school, all our family and friends is Facebook. So I tend to avoid it for that reason too. Like, it's just too much drama, too close to home. Like, I like Instagram's anonymity. And also, like, even on Instagram, you can kind of create, like, if you want to post to your close friends. So like what you were saying, as far as toxicity or what is more and more appropriate, you can kind of tailor it to certain audiences a bit more. But I honestly think they all are kind of similar. I think it's just the exposure. Like, we are used to, first from the radio to TV, just a limited access to when we could even watch TV or when we could see certain things or when we could kind of gain that access. I mean, even starting from when TVs actually had a shutoff time. Now you don't have no shutoff time. So it's 24/7 access. And I think that part is part of what is hard for us because it's evolution. Like, we're not used to that. This is the first time in our history that we've had this much access to each other, let alone to whatever else is happening in the world. That's a lot.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question: is social media addictive? Chris, I'm gonna let you answer that question first.
So don't repeat it. What was that question again?
Do you think that social media is addictive?
Yeah, it definitely is a drug. You got people, as soon as they wake up, before they even, say a prayer or before their feet hit the floor, they reach over and pull up their phone and they pulling up IG, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of that, just to see, who liked the, recent posts or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's addictive. It's, I haven't, dived deep into the study as far as like the hormonal imbalance, as far as like the chemical balance, as far as, needing that rush of approval or that instant gratification. But it's a real thing. Who's liking my next post, who, can I get 100 likes here? Can I get my ratings up right over here? That type of stuff like that. So when that consumes you, yeah, it becomes an addiction. when you're, you know, embarrassing yourself, it becomes an addiction. When you're throwing family and friends under the bus just to, you know, impress people that you don't even know, yeah, you can call that an addiction.
Reggie, do you think that it's addictive?
Without question.
Why do you think it's addictive?
Just because, you know, if you look at the definition of addiction, like anything that you seek for some type of pleasure or relief, and it has a tendency to cause impairment in your life, to me, you know, that is most certainly an addiction. And to backtrack on what the brothers say, to wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do, and I'm very guilty, okay? The first thing you do is to grab your phone, all right? You have to understand that coming out of your sleep, you're coming out of what's called the alpha state in your brain. Very, very impressionable. If you ever wonder why, you know, like you're watching TV or watching a movie, watching, you know, a horror flick, and you jump, all right? You're watching a romantic comedy, you're laughing. You watch something sad, you're crying. You know that those are actors. You know that they are, you know, there's a production, there is a budget, a director, all of that. But at the end of the day, because you sat in a sedentary state for a long time, your brain gets into the alpha state, which means it's very impressionable. It's the same reason why your dreams seem so real. You wake up in a panic attack, breathing, okay? Because you're in the alpha state, all right? So when you wake up and the first thing that you do is to look at your phone, basically what you're programming your brain to say is that, oh, I need dopamine all day. Like you're getting your brain hooked on the dopamine, because it's like that's the first thing you're looking for, that pleasure as you're combing through whatever feeds and you're being entertained, or you're looking for likes, or you're looking for this and you're looking for that. On top of that, from an evolutionary standpoint, we are not accustomed or acclimated to being connected to so many people. All right, if you think about, you know, back in the day, and for centuries and centuries, we're used to being in villages, in close quarters, where we know everybody. I mean, you look at a small town down south. I mean, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows when something is happening. Those are the type of close personal relationships that we are used to having on an evolutionary standpoint. All right, and now you go to much larger, much aggregated buildings where you don't even know your neighbors. Okay, so that puts us in a position where we crave connection. All right, we are the one of the few species that feel like have special needs. And one of our special needs is that we need meaning. All right, we need meaning in our relationships. We need meaning in our life. And we try to find that, and we try to salvage that, all right, in social media. And because, you know, it's just not the same. All right, so, you know, us talking now on live is a little bit different, but when you're texting, when you're talking, you're using emojis, there's no facial expression, there's no body language, there's no energy, all right? There's just a lot that, you know, is unaccounted for in the connection that is needed. And because you're not getting that nutrients of connection, that means you need more of it. The same way that you build up a tolerance for a drug, all right? And eventually, instead of taking one pill, you need to take 5 pills to feel like what you did when you used to take 1 pill. And so now you need more of it to the point where your body can't take the amount of pills that you're taking, because you're building a tolerance and you're becoming addicted. So same thing happens because we're not getting that connection that we are evolutionarily accustomed to and need, like face to face, all right? Even writing letters, you know what I mean? Writing letters compared to writing a post is deeply personal. You're really reflecting on what you're saying. You know what I mean? You're inscribing meaning, all right? Each letter that you're writing is inscribing meaning, all right? It's not, each keyboard is the same. Each keyboard letter is the same, and copy and paste, there's no meaning in that. And you can get an email and emotionally react like this. And on a tizzy, you're sending something without reflecting, without you know, thinking about what you're, and this is having a deep emotional impact on the people you're sending it to and the messages that you're putting out, all right? And that, the accumulation of that is having a profound effect on, you know, mental health and emotional health, and it's very addictive, very, very addictive.
you just said something that I'm gonna ask about I want I want to get into, have you ever argued with somebody online, but don't answer that question right now. Before we go there, Sherry, are you intentional about the time you spend on social media, or do you not find a need to because you just aren't drawn to like it being compulsive or needing to do it often?
I'm both. I'm somewhat intentional, but I'm also impulsive, meaning there's time in my day that I allow for impulsivity, if that makes sense. So I don't think every part of my day is completely structured, but I'm definitely intentional about how I use my time on social media and how much time I'm using. That's why I said I use it for everything, because it's actually a tool that I use for my insomnia. So I use it a lot when I can't sleep, but again, it's how am I using it? I think in that sense, I also agree and disagree. I don't necessarily think social media is addicting. I think connection, the desire to connect is addicting. And any medium we use for that is going to be addicting. We can use the phone 1,000 times. I don't know if you ever heard the pastor talk about it, when you have a problem and immediately you call your friend, you don't sit and reflect, you're instantly calling somebody. That same energy is going to get applied to every medium of communication that we have, because we don't sit with ourselves and reflect. So I think it's an internal issue that is manifesting external. I think in society, we have a lot of addictions in general, including that desire to connect. It is a need, but we haven't learned the balance of like spending time with self and connecting with others. And I think that's what creates a lot of what we consider addictions in society. It's that drive to always satisfy and always, what Reggie was saying, always want pleasure. It's not going to always be pleasurable, even social media. Nothing in life is always going to be good. So what are you looking for, and how are you finding that balance in your life? I think that's a huge factor for people, because we have been conditioned to want everything right now. Food, fast food, access to people, like even what you were saying with Twitter, like that's one of my greatest issues, because I'm more of an introvert. People want access right now. So even to what you're saying, if they see you online, I'm talking to you. I'm free, but I'm not necessarily free to talk. Like, depends. That's not always access ready. I'm not always ready to engage or in that energy space. And so I think it also comes back to like what type of boundaries you have. I've had people get upset because they've seen me online and I not respond to them.
I was just about to say that.
Ooh, all the time. I'm not available to you yet. That's a difference. But I'm also like, even from just doing business, I might be talking to a client online. It looks like I'm on social media, but you don't quite know what I'm doing. So I think that's where a lot of what we consider conflict from social media comes from. So we blame social media, but that's the same conflict I see outside of social media. Meaning, if we're having a conversation or somebody's trying to reach me on the phone, my dad hates that I'm like not accessible all the time with the phone. Like, he's like, you're always having your phone near you. Yeah, but I might be in a session. I might be in the middle of a conversation. I'm not the type of person who answers the phone when I'm talking to people. So that means it doesn't get answered, because to me, that's what voicemail's for. Like, I'll call you back when I get a moment. We don't live in a day and age that responds to that anymore, because we're used to live and we're used to immediacy. And I think that's part of the challenge, is that some people are going to be disappointed with you sometimes. They're going to be annoyed with you and frustrated with you. That's all a part of life, though. Like, you have to kind of accept those parts, and that is not always pleasant.
Yeah, I like that perspective, because it can be applied to other areas outside of social media. It's the sweet spot said, I agree, it's super addictive. Johan Hari did a study on how social media is designed to be that way. There's a talk he did called Stolen Focus, so mind-blowing. I'm gonna have to check that out. Travis, do you get lost in TikTok world?
Absolutely, man. I'm telling you, man. It's like a whirlwind. I swear, sometimes I'm supposed to be working. I'm literally on a deadline, right? And next thing I know, I'm on TikTok. Like, I'm not even remembering picking the phone up anymore. And I'm 17 in. It's insane. They got a watch history on there. One day I was looking for something I saw to show one of the kids or somebody, and I was mortified at how much I had viewed to get to one from yesterday. So yeah, absolutely, man. And that's probably some of what that Johan dude was talking about is the dopamine drive that they have designed is absolutely amazing. Like those notifications on your phone release dopamine, likes and comments, all these things release dopamine, which is exactly what crack and cocaine release. So it's really drugs. The brain cannot tell the difference between heroin and social media. Like obviously the amounts of dopamine, blah, 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 like it's a spectrum. But as far as brain chemistry, brain reward system, like you said, I don't have a personal page, but when I started posting these TikTok and posting our podcast stuff on all these sites, oh my God, I had to eat a lot of words that I was saying about people who were on social media and caring about likes and comments and stuff. I turned into a right bitch. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Listen, Travis, that joint that y'all posted, that joint that y'all posted of the Jody and Melvin clip, like it took me everything today. I didn't want to argue with someone today.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I'm really passionate about certain topics, and when I be passionate about certain topics, like I go in. You know what I'm saying?
I don't even show her. I can't show her the comments for this reason.
So you see the intentionality. I don't even look at them.
That would be me because I'm reading y'all comments and I'm not even y'all and I'm getting upset.
Yeah.
The one when Kennedy was on, now that one took everything in me because someone was like making comments about her and I was like,
oh gosh.
But like they were being supportive kind of, but they were just like, oh, her body language, you could tell. And I'm like, you don't know her, don't. And I could see my daughter getting upset, like not the one it was about, but my oldest daughter was like, don't come for my mom, don't come for my sister. I was like, oh boy, here we go. Then I was like, that's the struggle. I'm like, but that's what you were saying. I cannot stand looking at the comments because I feel like that is, again, a microcosm of society. People that will not say nothing to you, all of a sudden, they love Yelp reviews, they love Amazon reviews, they love to comment on YouTube or certain things. Ooh. It's just a reminder of putting it into perspective because I have to do that and I go grocery shopping. Like you talk about dopamine, like there's all these things you want, there's all these things, but you got to literally remind yourself, okay, what did I come here for? Like, what do I need? What's on my list? Refer to my list and don't leave it. Like, if I start to go off this list, it's going to be a problem.
Yes, big time. Did y'all, when it comes to your kids being on social media, was there ever an age limit? Did y'all have a conversation with your kid? Like, what did your kids being on social media look like for y'all?
They didn't have phones till middle school, so we're not like the new age parents. Like they got phones later, so there wasn't any social media early on, and like. It's funny that you asked that because that's the debate in the house because, of course, my youngest son got everything sooner and earlier, and his sisters feel like it's because he's the boy and because he's the baby and he's the youngest. But it's the way time went. And I feel like early with the girls, we had all these conversations. But as he's the baby, we didn't really have those conversations as much with him. So he just recently followed me and I followed him. Whereas with the girls, I was following them from the beginning. I think also just kind of they know because of my history and my past, like I talk to them about everything. So it's a lot of conversation. We watch Criminal Minds together. We watch serial killing shows together. And we literally have conversations about safety protocols and like seeing different things. Like you could see this could be a stranger. It's not even necessarily another kid. So we talk about things like that. Like, how do you know who that person is? How do you know that's not some random person behind the screen telling you this, this, and this? And they talk to us about everything. So they pretty much know the people they follow. They're not necessarily following any strangers. And for a long time, social media was an issue for me, which is probably why he's more private, not in the sense that like I'm nervous for myself, but I didn't want, with me being a therapist, people seeing my family or like people that may have an issue with me seeing my kids or seeing him. I kind of wanted to keep it separate. So for me, it's been an adjustment because they're out there and I'm much more of a private kind of, like, even just my own page being public was in the last 3 to 5 years that my page went public. So before that, it was like people who knew me. That's it. So I think for me, there's some anxiety with that because I can't control it as much, but I know I got to stay prayed up for that anyways because I never had control. I never had it. I just want to think I got it.
Chris, do you have children?
No, not yet. I don't have kids just yet, but I do have a question real quick because I like what my brother was saying, and it had me thinking. You guys have a podcast and you're posting certain content. And of course, you know, when you're putting your business out there, you're branding and you're networking, it's like, okay, I'm looking for them 200 likes. Like I'm looking for them comments and I'm looking for, you know, the stuff to get seen. Would you guys think that'd be a different type of, would you call that an addiction? Like, is that a different type of high opposed to someone that's just, no disrespect, but really ain't got nothing going for them. They just posting just to be posting.
Yeah,
That's a different type of high.
That's a good question because I never really got the social like one because I don't post much personal things. But I have compared it at least, like from what people say in the addiction type nature of it. And I know for me, yes, there was a little. First of all, hold on, I got to go back. You sound exactly like Kirk Franklin, man. Somebody must have told you that before.
That's the first. If I'm not mistaken, Kirk from Houston, right?
Yeah, or Dallas.
I'm from Dallas, Texas, so that's probably what it is.
I thought he was from Dallas too, or at least he goes to church in Dallas now.
It was one of the two then. Yeah, if he from Texas, then we all sound the same then, bro.
Dang, I do kind of hear it now that you said that, though.
I'm telling you. Just say stomp real quick.
No.
Oh, the people say,
oh man, no, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
But no, I agree though. There is Fort Worth, yeah, Dallas. That's Dallas, Fort Worth, yeah. So
well, there it is.
Yeah. But yeah, look at Janice. Yeah, I feel like there might be a small distinction in your purpose for being on there, whether it be for business, for pleasure, for likes, for high school, for PhD dissertation you're trying to publish. It might be a super sophisticated reason and meaningful, but at the end of the day, if you've attached desire to the results, which if you're posting something you would like attention on it, you would like it to be seen by people, you have a preferred result or preferred outcome, and if that exists, then anything that adds to it or detracts from it is going to play in that brain reward center almost regardless of what the core purposes are, because your brain doesn't care about all that stuff. It's just reacting and releasing chemicals based on the emotions you're experiencing.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I can. So I can like speak to my personal experience with that. So I had a post last year that had went viral, right? Well, first let me back up and say my social media, if it wasn't for me trying to like inspire people and now run a business, I would never be on social media. I actually, I wouldn't be on social media at all. And I am solely on social media to uplift and inspire. And now I run a business. Last year I had a post that went viral, and I never really cared before then pretty much about like who really liked my posts and stuff like that, because I never really posted my face or anything like that. It was mostly just inspiring stuff. So I always felt like whoever is supposed to reach it would reach, right, and resonate with. But after my post went viral, after I had a post go viral, it then became a thing, like I guess a high that I felt from having a post go viral. So then posts that I would post after that for a short while, I found myself being like almost addicted to like how many likes I would get and comments I would get, to the point where when it started to decline, it started to like have a negative effect on me and made me feel like I wasn't like reaching people and touching people, and like people didn't care. Maybe I should stop. And I had to like do a whole therapy set. Like I had to talk to myself. Girl, like if you don't, I had to get back to my sole purpose of why I was doing what I was doing. But that, like, I really had to put intention behind it. It was almost like I don't even know where that came. Well, I do know where it came from, obviously, but it's like it be sneaking up on you. Like,
Yeah, man.
don't let one of your little posts go viral.
That's
Okay?
real.
I know, man. I know.
I think that's the balance too, because like even how he was saying, like, is it drive? I feel like what you said, that's my natural inclination is the anxiety. Like, ooh, all these people talking to me or having opinions and thoughts coming at me. I feel like I think that's the initial thought is the anxiety. So for me, the likes kind of balance it. Like, okay, people agree with you too. Like, okay, it's some balance within the argument and the like and dislike. But even for my poetry and writing, like there's always that anxiety of if I'm sharing something that is from the heart, I'm going to want it to connect to people, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna want it to reach people. So there's constantly a battle of, you hear every artist talk about it through music, through song, through poetry. Like, am I doing this for the likes or am I doing this because I'm passionate about it, because it's meaningful to me, because it's important to me? And that's why I said I think that's that internal struggle battle that we all have to deal with, and it's going to manifest in social media, in our jobs, in every area we go into. Because honestly, even just being a therapist, sometimes I think that's a scare. Like, oh, everyone's like, oh, I like what you say. No. This ain't me. This is the therapist. This is like the content. Like, don't get attached to me particularly, because I'm human. I'm going to screw up and make mistakes. But I think that's the constant fear, is that if you're liking it so much, what is also that expectation? What's coming with that energy and that drive?
Yeah.
And I think that's also kind of what helps to ground you, because if they're liking it, they're liking because what you said. But that's the fear on the other side. I'm not going to always say something you like. So now what? Well, that shows you who really likes you, right? Because I don't have to agree with everything you say, Tisa, but we're still working together. So that shows you some foundation as well. And I think it just depends on what are you looking at, right? Because you can look at the people who are fluctuating in and out, and if I focus on that, that's disappointing. But I can also look at the people that's been there, that stay there, that are always there, and that part is kind of grounding and solidifying for you. So I think it goes to what you're saying, that sort of intentionality as you engage in whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And the expectations, managing those expectations is hard.
Yeah, big time.
Yes.
Going back to Nikki said, well, that's not her name. Her name is 595+, but her name is Nikki. Anyway, I had a post go viral. I gained 10K followers within a 2-week time frame. I was excited at first and realized I don't know these people, and why did they friend me over one post? Also, I'm gonna wait till she posts more. Also having that many followers with 30 likes on a future post is weird. True. Like, people, yeah, I feel you on that. Why do people do that? Why do people, I don't know what the whole idea of like ghost following is, but like people follow people and then never engage in their stuff, which is weird to me. But
I like that too, because I think that's how you put it in perspective, because like even what Reggie said, other people are also on here for business, are also on here for marketing, are also on here for their own agenda. So we look at it like, oh, these people are just purchasers or consumers. They're not. So I think sometimes they're following you because they want you to follow them back. They want you to look at their content and engage with them. And I think we forget, like, a lot of people are looking at it from what can I get from it? And so that may not necessarily be what am I giving back or what am I contributing to this platform or to this area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Another social media technique.
Yep. Reggie, you seem like a pretty quiet, calm individual on these lives. I gotta ask you, have you ever argued with somebody on social media? Have I ever pissed you off?
You said on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah? Well, tell me. You don't gotta tell me the whole story, but like, what was it over? Like,
I don't even want to say, dude. Like, it was so dumb. Like I've since gotten rid of my Facebook. I'm pretty much, I feel like you do, Tisa. It's just it wasn't productive. So I got rid of it, and I got rid of Instagram. But I remember arguing over. I don't even want to say it. All right, let's say it. All right, fine. So like, I can't remember the context though, to be honest with you. It was years ago. I haven't had it for years. But basically, somebody said that people who play video games are losers or something like that. And I was explaining how, you know, that can be someone's outlet, their competitive outlet. You know, a lot of times people have, you know, they athletes, they play sports that don't go pro, you know, and then all of a sudden you got to make a living. All of a sudden you got to make a living, and you gotta, you know, you gotta feed your family, you gotta feed yourself, you gotta protect, you gotta provide, you gotta ascend. And you know, you can't play sports like you could before. And sometimes, you know, if you want to get your mind on something else, where, like, you know, if you're stressed out, like I have to deal with clients every day, right? And so I have, like, they live here all the time, and it's really hard to clock out and just shoot them out, because I'm still worried about them. I'm concerned about them. If they said something, if they're doing something, if I haven't heard from them, you know what I mean? Like, I can clock out, I can close my laptop, I got an office, I can close the door, but mentally and emotionally, they're still here. So it's like I need something else that'll challenge me, like that requires like heavy lifting to get my mind off of it. And that's why I was like eviscerating this girl in this conversation. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know, and I went to retail therapy. I was like, you know, at least I'm not spending money and this, that. And I was young, and it was a dumb conversation, but she wasn't ready. Okay. I think to this day, she's still thinking about it. I was not ready. It's like, I was just joking, but it was something dumb like that. But I saw, you know, one problem that I've seen is polarization. So if you start liking certain posts, if you start sharing certain posts, especially on Facebook, those are the types of perceptions that you'll see. And then you'll get put into these 1-2 categories, okay? Red or blue, Democrat or Republic, Christian or Muslim, vaccine, no vaccine, mask, no mask, these polarizing groups, all right? And so you start to be in community with people that agree with you, and not around people who disagree with you. And I feel like that is very, very unhealthy, but it's also something that fulfills that dopamine. Yeah. All right. It's that pseudo connection. All right. We're going to hate you. And they're called, out of all things, they're called friends. They're not really your friends. Okay. All right. Because they don't know you. Okay. They don't know your true perceptions. I wish, like my IG profile, I wish my life was like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish every day I was doing those things. All right. But I'm not. It's a highlight reel. And those people don't really know me. I don't have a connection, like a true connection with them, you know, and that's what it's doing, you know, and that's the polarizing and the divisiveness. All right. Look at what happened with, you know, anytime Kanye opens his mouth, Kyrie, you know, all these public figures, you know, who are saying, you know, certain things, and people are, oh, I think that's anti-Semitic, and I don't think it's anti-Semitic. Have you even seen the documentary? Like, it's just these, and I feel like it goes, you know, back with the young brother, you know, said in the beginning, you know, I feel like we're completely underutilizing and misappropriating these resources, and it's polarizing us. You know, we're looking for connection, and we're not really getting the connection. You know, we're not getting what we think we're getting. You know, I think it's quite unfortunate. But yeah, I have argued. I've since stopped to argue. I mean, it used to be like an ego thing. I saw that my ego was completely, you know, because they saw me, you know, Locks, you know, they're gonna say something, you know what I mean? And I don't think that they, you know, and I would get like something out of that, you know, the same way that you got something out of your post getting viral. And that's the addictive part. That's the dopamine, you know, where, all right, let's say like your brain is like a room, okay? And on the one night you're throwing parties, and you throw this epic party, and it's just like, it's crazy. It's the most like bomb party that's ever been, the most legendary, crazy things happening, okay? All right, so next week you do the same thing. You bring all the seats, right? You bring all these chairs, you bring all the food, because you're expecting, and it's people don't show up like they did before. And there's a sense of lack. There's a sense of emptiness. There's a sense of unworthiness, purposelessness, you know, that derives. All right, but that's just your brain trying to protect you. You know,
Yeah.
your brain, just like my man Travis said, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain is not out here making decisions and navigating through these situations and saying that was just a one-off. That was a viral video. Like that was just, you know, but your brain is, you know, has made these grooves expecting this fulfillment. And it's just not, it's not even natural for it to happen. So it's not going to continually happen. All right. And then that's what makes you like, all right, now I got to do more. I got to post more. And that's where the addiction aspect comes from. And then now when you add, now you're doing more, you're posting more, you're spending more time, your brain, your cognition, your memory, your imagination, your creativity is all deeply impacted. Because think about it like this. Remember when 5 minutes wasn't long? You know what I mean? But now you go on YouTube and you look, you see a 5-minute video. Like, oh my God.
Like that's long.
It completely changed your perception of time.
It's crazy.
It changed your perception of time. And then you also look at, you know, the TikTok. I mean, remember the Vines? You know what I mean? Like those 6-second videos where it's just like this. You are, and then you have children. You guys mentioned children. You know, I'm with you, brother. I ain't got no children yet. You know, still trying to make that.
I'm working on it. I'll figure it.
Working on it, bro. But when children are introduced to this at their critically developing stages, all right, where they have a device in their hand that entertains them 25/8, all right, okay, and their attention span is being affected. They are their ability to communicate, their vocabulary, because you don't have to know things anymore. You can Google it. You don't have to remember things. Remember, you know, like remember that actor, just Google it, Google a movie. You're no longer utilizing that muscle. All right. So what do you think is happening? All right. So it completely deteriorates. You know what I mean? You see, I'm a prime example. Okay. It completely just evaporates into the ether. Okay. And because of that, you know, I know you heard the cliche, smartphones are making dumb people, you know, because we're being completely dependent on this device for so many different things. And we're not recognizing the deep impact that it's having on especially our children's development. All right. I have clients now that are kids like 9, 10. You know, imagine you have a device. You can go on sports. You can look up video games. You can look YouTube, look up porn. Imagine the dopamine that's happening. Like, oh, bet mom and dad don't know about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine the dopamine that's happening with that when they're introduced to things that are completely not age appropriate. Okay, all right. How am I going to keep him or her engaged? I'm a person just having a conversation. How's the teachers? All right. How's the parents going to live up? And then you also think about the expectations that are built now. Think about when you go on one of the first times you went on a double date, right? You with your partner, and then let's say the other couple does something like hold hands and kiss, and they're all affectionate, and your girl look at you and be like, must be nice. You know what I mean? And now think about a whole world wide web, all right? Where people are able to go on trips, look at the financial aspects, look at the romantic aspects, look at, you know, the cultural aspects, you know, the things, the opportunities they have available to them now builds up this expectation. Now they feel like something is missing. You, in conjunction with, at some point they went viral and they got some pleasure out of the likes and shares and appreciation that they're not getting from the connections in their real life. Okay. All right. It's going to create this big monster, and it is. And it's really having a deep impact on us, you know, as a people, as a species. You know, like I said, we are used to, think about being in a village where you know everybody. Okay. We are, especially people who have African descent, we are communal people. Historically, we're communal. All right. We're about the community and knowing the people. So if we make a decision, we're not just thinking individualistically, all right, how's that going to affect me? We're thinking, how's that going to affect my mother, my dad, my grandparents, my in-laws, like this, that, and the third. This is the type of mindset that we, from an evolutionary standpoint, we are much more accustomed to than what we're dealing with now. Okay? Go to now where I can have my own laptop. I can have my own playlist. I can make profiles of identities that aren't even me. I can have my own movies. Like, I create this virtual identity that is completely feeding me this dopamine on a daily basis. All right. And so it's creating even more barriers between me and the people around me. It's actually creating disconnection, you know? So I just think that that's something that we should look at.
You said a couple of things I wanna ask about. Travis, I'm gonna ask this question to you because I feel like, based off of what I know about you and how you've always presented yourself on the lives, you seem like this seems to be like not just on social media, but like part of who you are. So you guys, from, like you said, the stuff that you guys post on Codependent Podcast on all platforms, you guys are getting a lot of different opinions and feedback and comments on your stuff. Now I've checked out a few of your comments, and you always be like, that's interesting, tell me more. Like, you always, now I don't know what you be posting on TikTok, right? Because I ain't really heavy on it, but on Instagram I be seeing the comments. What is it inside of you? Well, my first question is, have you ever argued with somebody on social media? And then my second question is, what stops you from arguing with people on social media?
That is loaded. That's interesting. So, no, I never argued. I don't see, I'm looking at what's actually happening, right? Like, I'm at my work desk. Me and my wife have recorded this footage. I've spent hours cutting it, clipping it, editing it, adding music, posting it when I had time throughout my day. That's what I'm doing. And then these people are saying, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this, right? So that's what's happening. And so for me, if I can see that from the outside, I'm not so much inside of that interaction, is the best way I can describe it. I'm not necessarily participating on a visceral level.
I get that, yeah.
So, and also all of those comments, for all the effort I put into this podcast, every time I comment is another piece of content in my mind, right? So they're not just comments, tell you how I feel. I'm not interested in putting my opinion of that person's comment on our profile. That's not what I'm doing when I'm commenting. When I'm commenting, I am further building the brand. I am further pushing questions, because never are the naysayers do you a great service, because number one, they're the ones who are brattiest and comment the most and watch it the longest so they can hate it. But the algorithm, just like we were saying about our brain, it doesn't know the difference between they don't like it or they do. The algorithm is saying you do like it. And because at a core level, there's something that resonated, or else you would have just skipped it. Right. So I love the negative comments. I love the people talking shit, because number one, you have helped the algorithm show it to more people who may actually like it, which I wouldn't have been able to do by myself. So I thank them for carrying my content around to people who might like it. And then secondarily, it allows me a counterpoint to produce more of our content, and in a way that can be seen as taking the high road, not getting affected and getting dragged into the drama. All these things are very attractive in the human social rules, right? So there's so many reasons why I don't respond, but that's mostly it.
That's amazing. Your ability to remain like absolutely objective and look at it from like a bigger picture.
maybe executionally objective, because internally I am bothered, right?
Okay.
Internally I am annoyed, especially because one of these ones we posted literally got maybe 800 comments that were all like 90% shitting on it because of maybe a point or two that didn't go right, that they didn't take the context. Who knows? It starts out quite provocative, and I get that. That's the whole point. But anyway, it does irk me. But in order to move me from emotion to action, that's when I'm able to have agency, because of just logistically, it takes time to pull up my phone, read it, and do the message. In all that time, I'm back to my goal. So even though I'm feeling and I'm feeling and I'm feeling, my goal has time to take back over by the time I'm typing.
I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna be thinking of this. I mean, I don't feel the need. I typically do not feel the need to argue with people. I don't feel the need to argue with people on social media, but when I'm passionate about something and I'm directly engaging in a conversation with someone, I'm bent on getting my point across.
That part. I think that's my frustration too, is the misunderstanding. I want clear communication, so I want to clarify. But that's where what Reggie was saying, my ego also knows I gotta let it go.
Yeah.
So they don't want clarification. That's part of what he's saying, because you can listen to the whole clip and get the context.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't want to. And he'll even say that. Did you look at the whole clip? No. So that's where I'm and him, where it's like, okay, so your goal is to vent. It's a different agenda. My agenda is this. Your agenda, you had something on your chest today. Something else happened that had nothing to do with our podcast, had nothing to do with us, your childhood experience, something else. This triggered that, and you needed to release. Mm-hmm. So I get that. I absolutely understand that, and I can relate. I need to release and vent. I just don't choose to do it in this way. And that's why I say a lot of it is just exposing what is already in people, and therefore I think it's also opportunity. We look at it like it's a negative, but the same in my relationship. When you challenge me in a relationship, that's an opportunity for me to grow. Even that the lady that commented and was like, oh, it was viral, it went viral, then it didn't go viral. That observation allowed you to see who's the real followers, who's not the real followers. That's not a loss. That's an opportunity and an understanding that now lets you know, okay, how do I change my marketing? Well, if I don't look at that, I don't know how to adjust my marketing. So I think it's beneficial, but I think all things can be beneficial. It's just, how do you use it? How do you utilize it? What are your goals? And I think if you're not going into it with the goal mindset, then yes, anything's going to be toxic. But I think that's where the balance comes in. And even to what you guys were saying with kids, you have to teach kids that. I remember my mom being a teacher, the TV was the idiot box, and everything we're saying about social media, everyone was saying about the TV. My mom, you could not pay her to get cable TV. The people would come around. Our kids don't even know door-to-door salesmen, but the people would come around trying to sell cable, and she would be going off about the cable, about TV. And I think that's part of what started to teach me kind of even that concept of balance, because I use the TV for lots of beneficial reasons. So I don't think TV by itself is bad. I look at documentaries. I look at Nature Channel the same way I use social media. I look at a lot of Nature Channel documentary type things. But I had to learn what I should look at and what I shouldn't look at, what creates that negative energy in me and what creates that more soothing, calming energy. And I think that's a learning process. And I think sometimes when we're triggered, we're like, okay, shut it off. Well, if I shut it off, I don't learn how to adjust. I don't learn how to deal with this. And I don't think I can necessarily live in a world absent of TV, social media, or any of these things. So it's teaching your children the same way we're now teaching our clients, how do you navigate these spaces safely? Or how do you navigate it with more intentionality so you're not getting into the things that are harmful? Mm-hmm. And just starting them early, because the same way that social media could negatively impact them early, so are your words, right? Could be negative or positive, which means you can teach them at an early age how to create that balance, the same way my mom would tell us. You have a certain amount of time to watch TV. After that, do something else. Read a book, go outside, play, do other things, and create balance in your own life. The same with our friend groups. You can't always hang out with your friends. You need to study sometimes. You need to do other things. I think that's where we forget social media is an area of influence, but so are we. So everything has an influence on us, but how much are we allowing it to influence us? How much are we engaging with it? And how are we engaging with it? I think that's really important.
Yeah, I like what you said there. It kind of reminds me of what Reggie said about how it's not good. Like what I heard, right, to me is like expanding, right? Like, expanding your capacity, right? Like, and it reminds me of what Reggie said earlier when he was like, even though I didn't ask him to clarify what he meant, what I heard when he said, or what I took as meaning for myself, when he said that good, it's, you know, a good thing to always like basically just identify with people who side with you, right?
Mhm.
To the side of that, you never learn, you never grow in understanding, right?
Right.
And so many other lessons that you learn because of that. Chris, I want to ask you what do you feel like, how do you feel social media impacts our identity?
That's good. And before I go there, because my man Reggie, he touched on some good stuff too, and I wanted to circle back around to it. He spoke about he was talking about the disconnection with society, you know, with other people. Like because of social media, we don't have that we don't add that value no more with face-to-face contact. And he was talking about the disconnection. I also feel like we're disconnected with ourselves as well. For social media, it robs us of critical thinking skills and survival skills. Technology in general. You know, when you ask someone, you know, hey, you know, what time is it? They don't even look at the watch anymore. They look at their cell phone. Eventually, people not even going to be able to tell what time it is anymore. So that's huge right there. I feel like, you know, whatever it was, the grid, if the grid was to drop, like how many of us could survive for a week without cell phones? You know what I mean? That's huge right there. It's like how many of us can survive 7 days without a cell phone? So the disconnection with self, but the identity thing, that's a good question. That's a real good question. I feel like social media does rob us. If we let it, it will rob us of identity. We said it up and down, you know, social media has the influence. And so if we let that influence rob us of our identity, it will do it. You can be, I wish everyone had Lizzo's confidence, like real talk. Like that woman, it don't matter who's saying what, it don't matter what social media is doing, she walks in pure value. And that's so dope. I love seeing that. And if everyone took hold of that, like we would be so much better. Wow. I'm trying to ponder on that because it is good. Social media and identity. You can be one of the dopest people around, and our superpower is how authentic we are. Like you guys flow how you flow. That's your superpower, like the authenticity. And once that's taken away and you're trying to become a cardboard copy of some other person, you no longer have value anymore. To me personally, it's okay to take bits and pieces of someone's like steps to success and, you know, implement that, apply that to your own life. But when you just start flat out, stop walking out of authenticity, now you no longer have, you know, you're not flowing in purpose anymore. You're not flowing in value anymore. And that's robbing you of your identity. You can be cool. You can be dope. You can be the best. You have the potential to be like one of the best life coaches around. But if you let social media start dictating your steps and, you know, your likes and, you know, your views and all this other stuff like that, it's robbing you of your value. It's taking your authenticity away. It's stealing away your identity. And I'm a yield right there. I got some more stuff. I'm trying to piece it all together because I'm like, yo, identity, that's crazy right there. And it does have the power to rob you of the identity.
I even like what you started with, right, about Reggie's point, which goes into what you just said, right? That whole being what Reggie said about disconnected, right? And you echoed and you said even being disconnected from self, right? I think identity, I think being disconnected from self has an impact on not developing identity. Sherry, I'm a ask you that same question. What impacts do you think that social media has on identity, on our identity?
It magnifies it, in my opinion, right? I think social media magnifies the flaws in our identity in society, meaning what Chris said. I think we're already disconnected in ourselves. I think we're already looking for that connection, looking for that search of identity, and I think that magnifies it. I remember, what's the guy we like, Charleston Heston?
What?
Yeah, Charleston White. He was talking about Heston. What's that, the white guy? Charleston White is like a former Crip. And he talks about community connection and trying to connect with the community a lot of times. And he was discussing that same energy is why he joined a gang, right? I'm looking for connection. So my brother was similar. He got into some illegal activities and some violent crimes. Why? I was looking for connection. Family dynamics, dysfunction in the family, dysfunction in our community, systemic oppression is going to push us to look for connection outside of ourselves. And if we don't know proper places to look for it, it's going to come into looking for it for others. And I think that's the issue, right? Before I even know myself, I'm trying to connect with others. How can I connect with you if I don't have a connection to myself? That's what's magnified on social media. So we're like, all of this toxicity in social media, that's the toxicity in the people. Those people, we talk about it all the time. Most people are not actively trying to heal. Most people are not, even to what Reggie and Chris were saying, how many people are looking to be challenged? They're not. We're looking to be comfortable. We're looking for connections that make us feel good. Even in relationships, we talk about that. If it's love, it should just be easy. It should just flow. It should just connect. So that's the problem. If you want constant connection, then you're going to be constantly looking for something, whether it's media, music, TV, social media, sex, drugs, rock and roll. We're constantly looking for something because of that disconnect to self. And I think that's the human existential crisis, period, right? Like, I'm looking for meaning in life. I'm looking for purpose. I'm looking for connection. And the more I struggle to find it within myself, the more I'm going to look for it from others. And the more I'm going to push myself to connect with that in others. And I think that's always the challenge, because it's cool to connect to others, right? From elementary school, from middle school, from high school, it's the popular crowd, it's connecting with others, it's getting on the team. So all of these roles was joining something and being a part of something. We don't start teaching kids to love themselves and look at themselves until much later in life. So that is the part of identity that developed the latest. So now we're still trying to figure that part out, because we know how to go to work, we know how to have sex, but we don't know how to connect. And so now we're trying to figure that part out. And that's where you have all of these challenges too, because you have all these people coming together, but we focus on who I'm not connected with, because you're not going to connect with everyone. So even on social media, the same in high school. When you went into high school, did you connect to everybody in your high school? Did you get along with everyone in your high school? You didn't. So that means I have to find my tribe. I have to figure out who I connect with. I have to figure out who I disconnect with. That's going to come through challenges, but that's also going to come through good rewards and good opportunities too. And through that process, if you learn who you are, you kind of figure that out. But those of us who haven't, then it's going to be constantly looking, okay, so I didn't find that in high school. I didn't find it in my family. I didn't find it here. So that creates a greater sense of sort of desperation that pushes us to like, okay, what about social media? What about jobs or these other, even that idea of trying to push the careers, where does that come from? That's the same thing. I'm trying to connect. I think money's going to, why are we so pressed for money and power and likes? Because that's going to benefit me in a certain way, right? Like if I get these likes, my podcast will pop off. My business will pop off. Now I can pay my bills. I don't think it's just I want to connect. I want to survive too. I'm trying to pay bills. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to live a life, full life, based on what I've been taught by society as a full life. So now in that search, I'm going to look for things really hard. And I think that's part of the challenge, is reframing it to look at, instead of searching for things, what do I already have? You already have most of what you need. Like these other things you're looking for, that's extras. Those are bonuses, but do you need them? We're not used to looking at contentment and satisfaction and necessity versus desire. And I think that pushes us to drive, I want more, I want more. I'm going to want something till the day I die. Till the day I die, there's always going to be things I want. But what do I need, and what makes me content and satisfied? Not necessarily ecstatic high. That's what we keep talking about, that high. You're going to always chase a high, but you're not going to always feel that high. So what satisfies you? What makes you actually content in life? And I don't think we hear that conversation enough. So it pushes us to extremes. Even when I get clients to come into therapy, okay, what can I do more? Okay, I'm doing that. Relax. It's been a week. Like, I gave you a task. You have not perfected that task, because I haven't perfected it in 30 years of trying. So all of a sudden, what do we say? Okay, what's the next thing I got to work on? Okay, what else I got to do? What else I got to do? Why? Because we're so driven that we don't know how to just live. We don't know how to just relax and settle into the current moment. Like, this moment is enough. And if I don't think this moment is enough, I'm going to look for the next moment. I'm bored with this. Okay, now what?
Mm-hmm. That makes me think of gratitude, right? Like the whole Gratitude isn't about, to me, isn't about taking away your desire to have more or to want something different, right? It's being able to be present in the moment and to find good and purpose and reasoning in the current, right? So that it helps frame your mindset so that you can actually move forward.
Yes.
Yeah, it made me just think of that. Um, Reggie, do you want to add on to identity because I want to talk about the mental health aspect. Do you want to add on identity before we jump into mental health?
Yeah. There's this, I think it's by Frantz Fanon. I could be wrong. There's this book called Double Consciousness. It reminds me of what people of color have to often do in the workplace. What's considered professional. What's considered acceptable. All right. Okay. So change from the occupational aspect and go into social media. How are people presenting themselves versus how they actually are? If you're doing it for likes, if you're doing it for share, is that what is that how you really feeling? And how do you deal with that conflict internally, knowing that you're not reflecting accurately who you are? How does that impact you as far as your self-esteem, your confidence, knowing that you have to be someone else searching for love, searching for acceptance? You know what I'm saying? That has to be a lot of psychology for you to have to filter who you are, and also kind of like our approach to things. Sherry talked about the social aspect and social development. We're cultivating a demographic of young people who are severely emotionally underdeveloped. Not only, from the world going into more of a virtual direction, but because of social media. Think about, I don't know how old y'all are, but I remember the anxiety of trying to go to a girl to tell her I liked her. Or when we used to be at dances, everybody, the males, be on one side, the females, but I bet you won't go tell her. I bet you won't go dance with her. I bet you won't go ask for her number. But now it's a situation where you slide into the DMs. It's way less personal. It's something that you can delete. It's not like a real experience that you've gone through, in your social development, where you have to act with courage, you know what I'm saying? And really face rejection to your face. You know what I mean? You can pretend like it just didn't happen. You can delete it out your life and move on, and I think that this has had a profound effect on the social and emotional development of the youth that don't know a world without this. I remember when there were phones, the Nokia phones where you could play Snake. I remember playing that, and I thought I was cool, but now it's just a whole nother level. And people are, you have a whole show called Catfish where people are literally, posting different pictures, different names. And some people who are copying other profiles as if it's their profile, like some celebrities, to get a lot of followers. Every time they get a follower, they'll follow that person that's following the person that they're copying. You know what I mean? Like there's just this huge rejection to self, and I think it goes back to, what Sherry said, in the sense that how can you connect with others if you're not connecting with yourself? Like how? Because a lot of the times what I'm able to share with you, like what I'm sharing with you now is what I've shared with myself, the conversations that I've had with myself. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not doing that because I'm spending most of my time in an addictive standpoint, trying to embody this person that doesn't exist or just exists virtually. You have virtual real estate now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, when you're, now that's your bread and butter. Now you're getting into, that's how you make a living. How do you identify with that? You know what I'm saying? These virtual properties. See what I'm saying? So like, I just think I am concerned with the rejection of self, the lack of acknowledgement of self. You know, that's my main thing with identity.
Do you guys address that in your own social media posts? Because I think, like, even to what Chris and I think Tisa was saying earlier, that's the reason I post the way I try to post, is to counter some of that. Do you also try to counter? Because I know for myself, whether, and this goes to, like, I remember even when we preached, when we were youth pastors, when we had to preach in front of the church, any message that I'm delivering the message based on, like what you said, this is a message I'm giving to myself first. Even for my post, whatever I'm posting, this is a post to myself first. And therefore, it don't matter if it, like, it's crazy because my page is literally for me, literally. Like, no one else may not like it because I have weird things I post. I have funny, interesting things I post. I literally post things so that when the year comes around and I see the memory, I remember this. I seen this. This is a reminder to myself that I need to work on this. Or this is a reminder to self, this is an accomplishment you made, or this is something you've been struggling with, so I can see my progress. So in that sense, the page is really for me. But if you connect with it, cool. And I guess I'm wondering for you guys, because I know you guys are also therapists, healers, do you guys try to counter that in your posting or as how you approach media or interacting with others as well?
I do. I'm big on that.
Yeah.
Everything I post in my stories, everything I post on my page, I done been through, I'm going through, I done thought about. It's absolutely personal, everything that I post. And I'm big on being really authentic and trying to share my personal experiences because I'm big on authenticity and vulnerability, right? I think somebody has to lead the charge, and then, be an example, and then that helps create space for other people to do it too. So I'm really big on that.
Yeah, I ditto with that too. Same thing. I post for myself, but also, yeah, because I'm a life coach, I do post for others to connect as well. Tisa said it best. It's the vulnerability. You know, with social media, you know, you see the highlights of someone's career and their status, you know, but you don't see the bumps in the road anymore. And I want to show that as well. As like, look, you know, this is where I started. You know, I started from the bottom. And yeah, I used to suck, but hey, I'm growing. And yeah, you can do it as well. So when people see that, that's they connect up with that, because it's like, okay, this can be achieved. You know, it's not like it's not some far-fetched dream or whatever. But yeah, so I post for myself, but also for others to connect as well.
Yeah, I definitely post. You know, just like everybody else, I post for myself, but I also, my approach to connecting that specific meaning is way more abstract. So like I'll post things of people living life, you know, people, like a progression of someone starting off, like if they take up skateboarding or something like that. I appreciate skateboarding because it's such a representation of mastery, because nobody can just get on a skateboard and just be like Tony Hawk. You really have to put in time, energy, and effort. So every time that you see somebody out there and they're doing I don't even know the moves. I'm not even like into it like that, but I just appreciate that aspect of it. But the fact that you really have to put in time, you really have to put in energy and effort into that. I post artists, I post athletes, I post, philosophers, comedians, deep messages. And, a lot of it, like I said, is just like a message in a bottle, hoping that the viewer or the audience sees the deeper meaning. I mean, I can't dictate what they get from it. I'm just hoping that they see something of value and they obtain something of value, but I only post based off of something I see of value within. If that makes sense. But it is an abstract, thing that I do.
Sherry, I have a question. Travis, well, I'm gonna ask you first, then I'm gonna ask Travis. You said something earlier about, well, I'm asking this. Do you think that social media has increased our need for social acceptance more than in the past?
I don't personally think it's increased it. I think it's putting it on display. Even to what you were from the beginning of before social media existed, right? A baby is born, and the first thing they have to do is be a good child to the family, which means I have to put the family's needs before my own. Then I have to be a good student. So I have to put the student and the citizenship above my own needs. And so I think it becomes how we're conditioned to learn to validate through others, right? Like my daughter was talking about her grades recently, and she was upset. Now, me and my husband have not probably asked our kids their grades for 10 years at least, because that's not our focus, right? Like, are you putting in effort? The grades are the outcome. I don't care what the outcome is. I care what you're doing. She's upset that she didn't get some grace, and we're talking about it, but it goes to what you're saying, like, what are your goals? Who are you as a person? What does this look like to you? And I think that part of the challenge is it's internal. And if we don't have those conversations, like even to what Reggie was saying, how do we have those conversations with self? If I don't have that conversation with self, it's going to come out in any area of life. So when she's interacting with her friends, there's going to be influence with her friends. There's going to be influence at school. There's going to be influence, political influence. And so there's all these areas of life where we have to navigate who are we versus who do you want me to be. And for our children, they always know. Same with my relationship with my husband. For me, the biggest thing in my relationships is authenticity and effort. Are you being true to who you are and who you want to be, and are you giving your best effort? If so, you've met my standard. Have you met your own standard? And it's funny because that's what she was saying. She was upset because she was like, well, y'all don't care about grades like her friends who are African or Caribbean. She was like, their parents are on them, they're da-da-da. And I was like, and so she was upset. If you cared more, I would get better grades. I asked her, what are your grades? She had 1 B. Girl, if you don't get out my face. She was upset, and I was that kid. So I get it. I was that kid, but that's why I said I don't think we realize how much is the person. I legitimately argue with my teachers about my grades because I cared about my grades. That was an influence that my parents had on me. Why? Because they cared about intellect. I saw my parents having conversations. I saw my parents engaging in conversations about what was happening in society, what was happening in life, not just necessarily work and business. I heard that too, but music, different concepts. And so I think it comes into, like, yes, we see it more, we're exposed to it more, but I think it was issues that have always existed in society. And I think that now it's being magnified because of how much we're seeing it. And I think that also creates that problem, because if you're not having that conversation, which my parents did not have with me, right? So what was we influenced by? That's what he's talking about. We were influenced by all kinds of things that were not negative. I mean, that weren't positive, because no one was talking to us about what should we influence ourselves with. I think for us, church was one of the first areas that talked to us or introduced the concept of influence, meaning the music you listen to is going to influence you, right? The things that you expose yourself to are going to influence you. TV, music, friend groups, all of that's going to have an impact on you. So consider now, is this the influence and impact that you want, or is it not? The same way, if you hang out with a bunch of friends and they're telling you to do the wrong thing, are you going to go with that? You want to fit in, but that's a hard decision. That's peer pressure, right? And if I can't respond to my group of 5, I'm probably not going to respond to a group of 100 on social media. Right? Like, if I can't resist my best friend telling me do this or do that, how am I going to resist when this other person or 10 people are asking me or encouraging me to do something? So I think it starts in the individual moments. Like you said, am I running from the challenges, or am I kind of facing it? Am I looking at even that factor? Like with my daughter, like, she wants us to be the one pushing her, but how does that benefit you? If we're no longer here, what's going to push you then? What's going to motivate you and drive you? If it's only because my parents want me to get good grades. It has to come from inside. And that's hard, because that's what they talk to us a lot about. Because we don't care about a lot of things other people care about, they have to find that internal motivation, that internal drive, and that's harder. And they get frustrated by that. But that's part of it, right? If I don't learn frustration, then I run anytime I'm frustrated. That's part of what Reggie was saying with the adventure park. That's why that's powerful. Same with games. Why are card games important and powerful? When I play that game, I get frustrated. Is that going to make me cheat? Is that going to make me quit? Am I going to throw the dice? What am I going to do? I have choices now. And if I learn them in these small areas, I can apply them in a larger area. But if I've never learned them in a smaller area, how do you expect me to apply it in social media, or apply it at school, or apply it in church if I never learned it at home? So I think that's one of the greatest parts of all of us. Like you said, if I haven't found any kind of foundation at home, I'm going to be looking for a foundation outside of my home. internally with one person, with a family, with whoever, whatever that group is, if I don't have that inside, then I'm going to constantly look for it. And I think that's where that push to look for it in others, because we also understand historically, we've all come from dysfunctional families. So if that core group is dysfunctional, now I need to find it somewhere else. That's going to be friends, that's going to be TV, that's going to be social media, that's going to be guys, girls, whoever. I'm going to be looking for something to validate me, or I can learn to internally validate. But that's not something we've been taught is as pleasurable. It can be. We can reframe that to pleasure, but that's a part of that process, is learning to see things outside of just how we've been taught to see them.
Right. Travis.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say this back to what Sherry said. I think you bring up you said it earlier, right? But what I'm hearing a lot of you saying tonight is, to me, how much we can balance the negative of social media, counteract the negative of social media, or what we say is negative about social media, with how much the conversations and the validation and love, support, and presence that we're showing up in our own homes, and within ourselves. I don't think we have that. I don't know. I don't know if we have that conversation enough, or in connection to talking about the negative aspects of social media, right? I don't think the two are connected enough, or we have the conversation about the two being connected enough. Travis, I want to ask you about relationships in social media. You being a married man, and having male friends and stuff like that, and speaking for the toxic men out there, as you like to say. How does social media impact relationships, right? In the context of right, we've heard things. I know for me, I've heard so many conversations about women getting upset over the stuff that their men like on social media, to not enough presence being there, to does it increase infidelity? Does it change a man's sexual appetite? Like, what do you say, Sway?
Yeah, all those things happen. Yeah, I think it can make for some more cheating. It can make for some more fights, all that stuff. You know why? It's because all those things you mentioned are fear-based parts of a relationship. All those things activate fears in relationships. All the relationships, fights, and problems come because somebody's scared about something. So if you're saying, will a immensely powerful succubus thing that's attached to our brain increase fear in our lives? Yes, for sure. But also, I think yin yang, there's probably ways that social media benefits relationships. It could, there's no way for me to show my wife and for us to be in bed together laughing back and forth on our phones about different memes, or us sending, that wasn't available before. This is a social media blessing. We're able to send each other different travel dream lists. It allows you to, so it can deepen your activities together, your hobbies. It also, because of the broadcast of the cheating, of the fights that are on social media, it can create community, which is therapeutic, for your man to go listen and get some therapy and some venting off, for your woman to go find the women and go get the venting off, for you guys both to see different type of fights that are happening. So maybe it could alert you guys to keep your awareness up about different pitfalls and hurdles in relationships. Relationship advice. A lot of counselors and therapy people like us talking about relationships on social media. So I think obviously anything we do that's invigorating, maybe this goes back to Reg's adventure type stuff, anything you do that's invigorating is going to be able to provide you with a yin-yang experience of exhilaration, exploration, accomplishment, but also fear, injury, doubts. So I think if you increase your exposure to life, you're going to get a whole bunch more life.
Ooh, that's good.
That's it.
That's yeah, I love that.
I like that a
It's
lot.
exposure. The more you expose yourself, the more you're gonna see. Absolutely. And I think actually, at least for our relationship, social media for me in particular has made me appreciate him so much more. Because like you said, you're gonna see the good and the bad. Ooh. He laughs because like I tell him all the time, like even for therapy, like I'll come out and I'm like, oh, I forgot there's healthy people. Like I need to go and get my dose. And like I'll tell him like, oh, I'm just so grateful you ain't doing this bullshit. I'm grateful you ain't doing this. I'm grateful you ain't doing this. I'm grateful you would never post this bullshit that he just posted. You wouldn't post that. Or I'll ask him, would you post this? And we get into conversations about things too. So I think for us it's been healthy. Not that that's going to be the case for everybody else, but he's also not very active.
Hey, toxic brethren, keep doing your posts. Keep that shit pumping. Hey, tell the women what they need to be doing, how they thinking backwards. Keep all that shit up, fellas. Appreciate y'all.
That's funny.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness.
I like that perspective. I actually like, that's one thing that I actually really, really enjoy. Especially the sharing of like funny stuff on social media. Like, one, I'm a big laugher, right? Like I love comedy. I love to laugh. I'm not always smiling, that's a lot, but laughing is one of my favorite things to do. So like when I can share funny stuff on social media, it's a way of connection, right? Like
for sure.
I like that you said that. That's a good point.
I love it. I love it. And I love like Pinterest. So I like ideas that I couldn't have thought of or stuff. Like I'm like, oh, that was creative. Yeah, inspiration. Like, dang, that's so creative.
Yes.
Being around creators inspires me to create. So that's always like my greatest benefit from social media is like I take in the creators. And that's really helpful for me to create. So
Great.
yeah,
Great.
I love that. Chris, you're married, right? Are you married?
Yeah, I'm married.
What and not that you have to be married to answer this question, but I like to ask married people relationship type questions. How does social media impact relationships from your perspective?
Man, my peeps, they said it best, man. It's definitely a balance. It can bring value to a relationship, and it can also, devalue it as well. But I love it because I love social media and relationships because for some time it's been broadcasted that every marriage is failing or every relationship is in trouble and this and that. Like my peeps were saying, man, when you put those images out there, people can see like healthy, happy, and whole relationships. They can see the Cosbys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. You can add value to relationships. But at the same time, because I've seen it, I've dealt with husbands. I do work with men. It can also bring it can bring devalue. It can bring a negative comparison for your partner. You can see, the Smiths, they over there living life and they're happy. They just, purchased a beautiful home. They got Maseratis in the driveway. And then your wife is looking at you like, you can't do nothing like that. You know what I mean? The brother could have great potential, but his woman isn't speaking a certain language to him, or she's not speaking the right life to him, where he can get up and be like, you know what? I can't do that. Let me go handle that. And vice versa with the husband. He can bring the value to his woman. He's looking at, whatever. It'd be a lot of images on Instagram, but he could be looking at whatever. And then, he comes back and, he has these, false images of what a woman is and what sex is and all this other stuff like that. And now he's looking at his woman. It's like, yo, you can't, do such and such. You bring in that devalues the relationship right there. So yeah, it's a balance. Social media is dope because it, pushes images of healthy relationships. But at the same time, if you don't utilize it the right way, if you're not viewing it the right way to, boost your relationship, it could also devalue it.
Mm-hmm. And I like
Yeah, I think even that exposure part is a challenge because I know for us, like when I said my page was private at first and then I made it public, so that exposure was a huge factor where like I think that's part of my appreciation for him because like you said, the sliding into DMs, I didn't even get that at first. Now it's something that we deal with a lot more and I laugh and we talk to him about and I'm like, I think that's part of what actually is the annoying part of social media for me because I think men find it threatening. It's not desired. Like I mean like even for most women that's not the desired way to approach a woman. So I feel like in that sense that's where that same thing happens in the street. Like if you go out you're going to get unwanted flirtations at the gas station, at the grocery store, wherever you go. I think it's learning to navigate and have those conversations together because for me, I think I just told you I'm insomniac. I'm online all day. So I would have conversations with people any time of the night. It's like, oh my goodness. You start to realize that as much as you want to live freely, there are rules in society that you have to kind of navigate. And I think that's what social media exposes. Because I remember even a guy telling me talking this late online is already a red flag. What? I'm not allowed to talk late online? Not to some people, not if you're married. So that's what, like I said, it starts to expose you to certain ideas or concepts in society. It is messy, but life is messy. I think that's what Tisa started off with. Life is lifing, absolutely. Unless you isolate and stay in the house and don't talk and socialize at all, you're going to have to navigate these things. And I definitely think there are frustrations to that navigation, especially the more you expose yourself, the more your sphere of influence increases, the more you're going to have to deal with that. When I talk to my clients who are Christian, I always use the analogy of Jesus. The crowd followed Jesus, but he didn't socialize with the crowd. He engaged limited times with the crowd, and then he took his 12 and went off with his 12 and sometimes his favorite 3. And so I use that as my example always too. Like, you're not supposed to allow the crowd to influence you necessarily, even though you're engaging with them. That's a very big difference than engaging with everyone. And I think that becomes a part of trying to find who's the right group for you to engage with. It's not going to be everyone online. It's not going to be everyone in your circle, everyone in your family, everyone in your community. It's going to take some time to figure that out. And I think that's where social media exposes and kind of magnifies it because we're like, oh, this person's not together. Well, who's together all day, every day? Who has everything together all the time? So you're looking at one snapshot of a person. This person, like you said, is either successful or this person is messy. And we forget that's a snapshot. Whether it's Instagram, whether it's movies or film, in real life, the story continues. So you have your happily ending. And guess what? There's a new chapter in real life. And I think that's part of our challenge is we're looking for that happily ever after ending. But life doesn't end until you die. And so that means you're going to have a new chapter with new problems, with new challenges, with new hopes and dreams. And you got to keep pushing.
And redefine what happy means, right? I don't know what getting rid of the idea that happy means like no struggle, no problems, like no issues. That is not realistic at all, right? Like we are bound to, like as human beings living life, to face challenges, to face obstacles, and they're all for our benefit, right? And you can find happiness and joy in the midst of that. There's been so many stories, so many stories on social media, too many stories of people, posting, oh, this happy couple, Instagram influencer, so happy, blah, 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 somebody getting killed, somebody getting divorced, somebody committing suicide. Things aren't always what they post to be, right? And I think it would do us well to remember that.
Even in those, I think we look at that snapshot and we're like, oh, they're not happy because they got divorced. They might be happy as hell. That might be
right.
happiness because they got divorced. But like you said, we create our assumptions, our conclusions, our projections onto their experience. We don't even know. And it's a snapshot. It's one moment. So you're saying because this person experienced a moment in time, their whole history has shifted or changed. Not necessarily. Or you're saying like their identity, my whole identity of happiness, that's over, or my whole identity of whatever that is gone because of this one moment. It depends on how you define happiness, identity, a lot of those concepts. And I think that's the struggle, right? We have not defined them for ourselves. So we're looking for others to define them for us. And we're comparing in that sense, like, oh, Will and Jada, like, well, they're doing that. Does that make you happy? So why are you comparing? Why do you care what they're doing? Does that make you happy? No. Okay, so find your happiness. That might make them happy. Let them be happy over there. We don't know how to do that. We're like, well, that ain't the right thing, because what you're saying is that wouldn't make you happy. That's the fear he's talking about. Oh, I'm scared that I might not find my happiness. Well, not if you look for it in him.
Right.
You won't. Not if you're looking for it in her. You absolutely weren't. You got to find the one that fits with your version and definition of happiness. And that's going to look different for all of us. And I think that's where social media can be beneficial or harmful, right? I see this person being happy. That upsets me. That's not the problem. The problem is that you stop there. It upset you. What are you doing with that emotional experience? You just quit, or do you say, okay, let me see and use this to now find what makes me happy? Well, they're trying surfing. Let me try surfing. Is that it? They try skating. Let me try that. So it's nothing wrong with seeing it and being influenced and allowing that to help you to explore. I think it's when we draw conclusions. They're happy. I'm not. Something's wrong with me. Maybe not.
Draw conclusions, don't we?
We love it. We love it. We box it in and that's it. Like, that's the truth. And maybe that's part of it, but that might not be the whole. And I think that polarity is really a difficulty for us in society. It's either good or it's bad. Well, maybe it's both.
Man, well, Sherry be dropping them gems,
Yeah.
man. That's all right. That's all right.
All of us, man. This is why we are together. And that's why I asked you what you guys post, because as much as we say it, I think that's part of the focus. I come to y'all's pages, so obviously I'm not stressed out on social media because I'm not looking at overly too much of that. But I think it's also exposure, right? If I think this is all that exists, then that's what I keep myself into. So now I'm like, oh, this is negative. Well, maybe you're looking at negative things. You didn't know these other positive areas exist in life, in social media, wherever, which means you got to expose yourself to that and test it out. Just because something is positive doesn't mean it's for you either. So I got to try out some things to see what makes sense for me. And I think that's hard because we want solid answers, right? Like, we've been conditioned to want a formula. 1 + 1 = 2. Well, it may not equal 2 for you. You got to try another formula. And that's frustrating. How many times I got to keep trying it? Clients will tell you that all the time. I already had that conversation, but it wasn't effective yet. So keep talking, keep having it, keep going until you have your solution. I think that's where we struggle.
Yeah.
If it's a challenge, we quit. And we might have been at the cusp of the breakthrough. I don't know. Like, you got to keep going.
Capri, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Janice, yeah.
Thank you. Janice said, wow, what's the coping mechanism for envy?
Self-exploration to me is always a good coping mechanism, because I think envy is one of those black or whites that we do where we say somebody is jealous, but part of jealousy is also admiration, right?
Yes.
So envy means there's some admiration, there's some something I like and admire and even maybe want, but I don't know how to get to it. And so the envy is I put my energy into that. I don't know how to get it. Oh, you got it because of this, right? Oh, you got a benefit. You got whatever I got it for, you can get it for the same reasons. We just got to have that conversation and help you to see whatever I have, you can get.
Thanks. Yeah.
Whatever resources I have, you can get. But we put our energy into they have it because instead of going and getting it. And that's why we get bitter and resentful, because we're like, well, they got a benefit that I didn't have. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but guess what? You can still go and get it.
I like that. That was a good question, Janice.
Yeah, I like that question. And that's hard because we hear that a lot in our communities, and we hear that even within friend groups and family groups. We feel that social media too. Like you said, maybe sometimes we don't realize people aren't liking because they don't think you need a like. You're already successful, right? Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's envy and jealousy too. Well, what is that based in? And that's why I said all of it is data. If you didn't like my post, that doesn't mean it's not a good post. That also means I shouldn't be posting just for your likes. That's part of the process of helping me to work through that when I see it's not just about your likes. That's why it's a benefit when people challenge you or don't like something. Why didn't you like it? Sometimes people might not like something you made or created. Why not? That's not always a bad thing, but that helps you to rebrand or restructure whatever you're working on.
to you and Reggie's point earlier. Well, y'all, we're winding down to 2 hours, and my battery's about to die. So, y'all know what time it is. I want to thank Reggie, Chris, Sherry, and Travis, as always, for having a super dope conversation with me tonight. Thank you guys in the comments. For those of y'all who have joined, as always, we love y'all interaction, and I try to do these once a month. Normalizing Healing for Our Culture lives once a month. I think we had one in October. Did we? I don't know. I think maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna see if we can do one in December. I know December is pretty busy for everybody, but we'll try to come back in December. I have a couple ideas for some topics that I want to do upcoming. I really want to do a conversation on this was suggested by a friend of mine, parenting and the effect on our upbringing from our parents, and I really want to have a conversation on partnership and marriage. But anyway, y'all tap in, pay attention, tap into everybody, follow everybody. Make sure y'all tapped into what's going on. Again, Chris is a life coach. He posts really inspirational stuff on his page. Reggie is an adventure therapist and life coach as well. He posts dope content on his page, and he loves to, he really likes having conversations. And Sherry and Travis, if you guys don't know, because I don't even think they said it, they be super on the humble with it. But they have a dope podcast, Codependent Podcast, on all platforms. They're everywhere. They're actually joining tonight from their page. They have a super dope podcast that we talked about tonight. If y'all want to go read all them comments that we just talked about, go ahead and read that. But Sherry also has a page, amazing. Oh, congratulations. She's that amazing job, husband. Heart.
That's my old lady. That's what I'm talking about.
Sherry has a page as well, and I'll make sure everybody's tagged when I post this live. I'll post a replay and I'll tag everybody as well. So I hope you guys can join us again next month when we have another dope conversation.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
If I don't talk to you guys, all of you have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
All right, for sure. You too.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.